Hey everybody, thank you for joining me. I'm Jim Yord, and as you probably saw, what we'll be talking about today is workaholism and having an obsessive one-track mind and what we can do about that. So as you can see, I am driving today, and this is a first for me. I'm going to try to kill two birds with one stone here by doing this training for you guys, as well as trying to get to my friend's house where I'm going to spend the day with he and his little boy, hanging out, having some fun. So if you think that I'm not making enough eye contact with you, I beg your forgiveness. I'm just trying to stay safe on the road. And now some of you might find it interesting that I'm doing this while driving to do something fun, given that the subject of our talk today is workaholism and obsessiveness. And maybe you're thinking, well, geez, this seems like this guy's a workaholic or he's obsessed. And what I would say to that is that it's all relative. There was a time when I would work 8, 10, 12, 16-hour days, 7 days a week for years on end, and I don't do that anymore. What I do now is I strive for balance, and if you follow what my training at all, then you know that I talk about balance a little bit less simplistically than you're probably used to hearing about. This concept of work-life balance is one thing, but I tend to talk about the physical, social, psychological, and vocational aspects of life, and balancing those in particular. And so, on a day like today, I already went to the gym, so I got some physical, attended to my physical health. I'm on my way to have fun with friends, so that's psychological and social health. And on the way, I am talking to you guys, which is a source of gratification for me and hopefully of help for you in the vocational domain. And then at the end of the day, I will drive home, and I'll be rocking out to some music and having a good leisurely time, and be thinking, I had a really great day. So that is what I am shooting for today with this live video. Okay, so if you type in some comments that are at all lengthy, please realize I'm driving and I won't be able to read them in detail. Okay, so why don't we get started? So, have you ever had this experience of working crazy hours, right? Feeling like a workaholic, like you can't leave your work behind, or that you can't get it out of your head, that you're sort of obsessed with it, right? Or really in any other area of life. Have you ever felt sort of overwhelmed or obsessively consumed with pursuing activities in that domain? So, not just work, but I've known people who become obsessed with physical exercise, physical activities, or socializing, right? All those four domains that I just mentioned are all subject to overachievement and being overinvested in them. So if you've ever felt this way, or felt like you've fallen into this rut where you have a one-track mind, then that's what we're going to talk about today. Why is that the case? And then what can we do about it so that we feel less obsessed, less tense in our life, and have a little bit more ease? Okay, so what I'd like to suggest is that this issue can be looked at in multiple layers. It's sort of like peeling an onion. Okay, so first of all, if we look at workaholism, or this obsession that we're talking about, that is really a symptom, a sign or a symptom of what is called subjective overachievement. Okay, so you've probably heard the term overachievement, and in the research literature there's two types of that. Okay, there's objective overachievement, which is when a person achieves beyond what might be expected of them. So perhaps a kid from a lower socioeconomic status attending an Ivy League college, for instance, might be considered an example of objective overachievement. Subjective overachievement is more of a felt phenomenon. It's like no matter what you achieve, it's never enough. It's almost like there's something sort of nipping at your heels that you're trying to escape or avoid, and you can never rest. Okay, so it's more of a felt sense. Now that it may or may not actually yield achievement results, but it certainly feels like a pressure to keep going and pushing and achieving. So I don't know if you've ever experienced that. I certainly have, and I'm prone to that actually, and it's taken me a lot of work to be able to relax and kind of turn it off. Okay, so and again, just because I'm using these work examples, remember that all of what we're talking about isn't necessarily limited to just work, that we can also become obsessed or overachievers in other domains of life. So the social or physical domains, people who become obsessed with activities in those. Okay, so now, so we've got the workaholism or the obsession, and then underneath that, then we see that that's a symptom of subjective overachievement. The subjective overachievement is a sign of something called self-doubt. Now, I'm sure you've heard that term before, too. And I'll say a little bit more in a few minutes about what self-doubt really is. But self-doubt is, so overachievement is just one way that self-doubt materializes. There's a few others that are pretty common. One is called other enhancement. That's when someone else achieves something that you wanted and they get it instead, and then you chalk up their success to some unfair advantage that they had, like the fix was in, or they knew the judge, or they were friends with the boss, or something like that. And so this helps to sort of protect your ego. Another way that the self-doubt can materialize is in self-sabotaging behaviors. So things like addiction or procrastination are some popular ones. So, and the fourth main way that it can manifest, that self-doubt can manifest, is in the impostor syndrome. Now, the impostor syndrome happens when you actually do achieve things, but you still haven't resolved this underlying issue of self-doubt, and you don't really trust your own achievements, and so you end up not being able to enjoy them, and subsequently trying to work harder and harder to try to achieve something that you can enjoy or can own, and it just never works. And that's why I called this talk the overachievement trap, right? So if we let this underlying issue of self-doubt go unresolved, then it can keep us stuck on this treadmill of always trying to achieve and never feeling content with what we have. So now if we're talking about self-doubt then as the primary underlying root cause here, then what is self-doubt? Well, a lot of people tend to think that self-doubt has to do with confidence, feeling confident in yourself. And that's close. It's very close. Technically, the way the researchers look at it is that self-doubt has to do with one's sense of competence, feeling competent at something. Am I good enough? So am I good enough at my job? Am I good enough as a father, mother? Am I good? Can I do this right? Can I do blank? Fill in the blank right. Am I good enough? Am I good enough at life? Can I do life right? So it can be on kind of a micro level or a macro level, or anywhere in between. And so really, rather than confidence, it's more of a crisis of competence, if you will. Feeling confident in your own competence, if you will. So now we're at the root cause. So what do we do to address self-doubt then? Okay, the very most important thing you can do if you're experiencing any of these symptoms that I'm telling you about, and let me say, this comes up all the time in coaching. This is one of the most common issues that I deal with, at least with the people that I work with. This overachievement, the other three ways I just mentioned that that self-doubt manifests, it comes up all the time. Now, I can tell you that the most important thing you can do is, first of all, this is going to sound kind of ridiculously simple, but understand what we're talking about and orient yourself toward your competence, your sense of competence in yourself, rather than external outcomes. Okay? Now that you know what causes this problem, start paying attention to this. Start trying to cultivate a sense of competence in your life, in as many areas of your life as you can. Okay? Rather than getting fixated on outcomes and the way things should look. Now, this is where there's a connection with the talk that I gave last time. What did I call it? The setback factory, right? Which had to do with the way that we set our expectations, and if we do that the wrong way, that can cause us to get stuck suffering on this cycle of suffering. And what I talked about in that video, which turned into like a 40-minute training, I'm not going to do that again today because I'm running low on gas for one thing. But that we cause ourselves suffering if we become too fixated on extrinsic outcomes, concrete outcomes, and we lose sight of the intrinsics, the values, the feelings that really make us tick, that make us want to get out of bed in the morning. Okay? So, number one then, so maintain an orientation to competence as being something important that you want to cultivate. Okay, so then you can go about trying to do that. So one way to do that is to, again, very simply, get better at things, right? Like, so if you're suffering from a crisis of competence at work, then you can start engaging in, trainings and practicing skills maybe that can help you to feel better at what you do. Okay, so that one isn't rocket science, but going beyond that, what I would say is to try to increase your awareness of the things that you are already competent at. Because, we tend as humans to focus on the negative. We tend to focus on our shortcomings, on pain, on things that are scary and risky. It's a way that our brains help us to survive. So we tend to look at the things we don't have, the things we aren't competent at, and we're afraid of those. So, so make an effort to become aware of the things that you are good at, even if they're in a different domain, a different area of your life than the one that you think is the biggest problem. Okay, so let's say that you're feeling, you're kind of a workaholic. Okay, so you're feeling incompetent at work, maybe. Or maybe you're not conscious of that, but you're afraid that you might be seen as incompetent. You're working long hours, etc. You're an overachiever. Well, if you are able to cultivate a sense of competence at work by getting better at things, by all means do that. But you can also look to other areas of your life. So look at your social domain. Look at other aspects of your vocational domain, like hobbies that you might be good at. I had a client not long ago who was feeling this way, and on the weekends, his self-care really was taking care of the lawn. He really enjoyed doing that, and it was one of the few things that he did that wasn't work-related or relationship related. So it was kind of his personal self-care time. And one of the homework assignments we came up with was to, number one, mow the lawn mindfully. Okay, so to bring some mindful awareness to the act of mowing the lawn so that he could savor all all the elements of that, the smell of the cut grass, the sunshine on his face, the sound of the mower, all of it, which he really enjoyed, right? So really savoring that experience. And then after he was done, rather than just kind of putting the lawnmower away and going on about the day, taking some time to get a cold drink and kind of sit and survey the work that he had done and take in how neat the grass looked and how well he is, how good he is at taking care of his property, and kind of developing a sense of pride and competence in that. And the reason why I'm suggesting this, and not necessarily that you need to go straight at the areas where you think you need improvement, is because of this thing called interdependence, which is a big topic for another video probably, but it has to do with the way that the various aspects of our life, the physical, social, psychological, and vocational dimensions, all affect each other. So you can start to develop a sense of competence and work on your self-doubt in one area of life, and those benefits will carry over to other areas of life too, okay? So getting better at what you do, becoming more aware of the goodness that you have in place already that you might be missing out. Also, I would suggest looking at growing your competence or mastery of things in smaller bites than you might be using right now. So rather than, maybe you have an idol in the field of work that you're in, or in some other part of your life, someone that you look up to that really seems to have it all, they've mastered everything, they're the master of the universe, and that's how you want to be. And so you compare yourself to that person or that situation, and for one thing, you've made the mistake of getting caught up in external outcomes, right? Which I said, try not to do that. But for another thing, you're looking at kind of someone who's maybe more advanced along this path than you are, and it's really not fair to yourself. You're not there yet, okay? So what can you do? You can break down your situation into smaller bites. So if it's a work situation, I don't know, maybe there are different aspects of your job that you could focus on developing competence in. So maybe there's getting better at sales, if sales is part of your job. So becoming a better salesperson. Or if you supervise people, maybe you could work on improving your management skills, for instance, right? So there's multiple dimensions of your job, for instance, that you could work on improving your competence in. And again, as you do that, the improvement that you'll feel in your sense of self, in your confidence in your own competence, that'll bleed over into other parts of your life, okay? Another example would be, in your relationships, let's say. Maybe your intimate relationship with your significant other. There are different aspects of your relationship that all come together to create the sense of whether it's going well or not, right? One of those things might be physical intimacy. One might be the way you communicate. So, you could work on becoming really a master of open-ended questioning. So helping the other person feel like you care about what they're thinking and feeling. And again, if you can master that skill, that'll provide all sorts of benefits in your relationships, right? So, smaller bites. And, finally, just to, I want to keep returning to this. This will be the last time, and then we'll wrap up for today. But just to really relax in general around the comparing mind, comparing your situation to someone else's, or comparing your current situation to some ideal situation that you're envisioning in your mind, okay? Because when you do that, you're putting yourself, you've now established a timeline, and you'll be tempted to hurry, right? And your progress is probably never going to seem fast enough, right? All you'll do is worry about what you don't have and where you aren't in this process of your journey, rather than savoring the journey, right? Now, if you ask anyone who's good at what they do in just about any field that I've ever seen, they'll tell you that they never stop learning, right? It's not like you become really good at something and then all of a sudden you kind of turn it off and coast. That's not what mastery looks like, for one thing, and for another thing, that isn't very gratifying for people. People like to grow and to continue learning and advancing, etc. And so you want to keep that kind of taste for the journey alive, right? Developing a taste for that and savoring the journey. And then it becomes much less important what particular milestone you're at any given moment, okay? So, and therefore then when you relax a bit in that way, then there's less pressure that you're going to feel to work crazy hours or feel obsessed to, if I just work another 80-hour week, then I can get to where I need to be. What if you're already where you need to be in terms of, bringing your focus and attention to this journey of improving yourself, becoming a competent master of one or more parts of your life, okay? It's a journey with no end, and it's a journey that will yield gratification as long as you continue on it and are aware that you're on it, okay? So that is what I have for you today. And I'll probably wrap up here because I'm running low on gas, and I already got my exercise in for today, so I don't want to also push the car. So, please, if you haven't already, go to well, first of all, please let me know in the comment section if you got anything out of this training. I hope you did. And let me know how the whole driving and car thing worked for you. Was it distracting? Did you like it for some reason? Let me know, and I'd love to hear your feedback. And also, please go, if you haven't already, to my YouTube channel, which is Jim Yord, and follow me there, because the next time I do a live video, it's probably going to be on YouTube. I haven't done one on YouTube yet, but the cool thing about YouTube is they actually let you use the highest quality video, high definition video. And so I'd like to see what that's like, and I think we can maybe produce a better quality product that way. Okay, so please head over to Jim Yord on YouTube and follow me, and let me know in the comments what you thought of today. Okay, and any ideas that you have maybe for your own life for battling self-doubt. Alrighty, so thank you, and I will look forward to seeing you next time. Take care. Bye.